Hey everybody, Ian here for Cult of Mac, and for the past week I've been using Apple's brand new 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and I've got to say, it's been great. I've used it at home and at work, in the kitchen and in bed, at coffee shops and on the couch. And in every situation, it's been a delight to use. And it's replaced my iPhone and my MacBook in a ton of situations. Before we can get into the actual using of the iPad, we have to talk about the design of this thing. The new iPad Pros are thinner and lighter than their predecessors, and are the first true design shift since the iPad was introduced 8 years ago. While old iPads sported rounded edges, thick bezels, and obviously the home button, the new iPad is flat, sharp, and industrial looking. Gone are the bezels and the home button, in favor of a mostly screen design, a gesture-based UI, and of course Face ID. This new iPad Pro is nearing Apple's ultimate vision of what the iPad should be, a magical pane of glass that enables you to interact with the world. Outside of the design of the new iPads, there are a couple of accessories to look at before you can really get into the conversation about can this be your computer. The new Smart Keyboard Folio and the updated Apple Pencil. While these aren't mandatory for using the iPad as an iPad, and they also increase the cost by $329, they are tools that truly enable the iPad to earn its Pro name. The Keyboard Folio, which retails for $199, connects magnetically to the back of the iPad, while offering a tiny bit of protection. Thanks to the redesigned Smart Connector on the back of the iPad Pro, the new keyboard offers two viewing angles for comfort in different situations, unlike the previous Smart Keyboard. Also, unlike the previous Smart Keyboard, the new Folio is a single piece along the bottom, which adds a ton of stability when using it on your lap or an uneven surface. Typing on the new keyboard feels much like the previous Smart Keyboard, with comfortable key spacing, decent key travel, and this soft touch fabric covering. The only downside to the new keyboard is what happens when it's not in use. Now with this new single piece design, the Keyboard Folio, when flipped back, exposes all of the keys under your fingers. Fortunately, the keys are disabled, so accidental input isn't an issue, but it's still a weird design choice. The new Apple Pencil is another solid upgrade with the new iPad Pro, coming in at $129. Unfortunately, the old Apple Pencil doesn't work with the new iPad, and the new Apple Pencil doesn't work with the old iPad. It's a weird mess, but it's definitely a worthwhile improvement. Unlike the previous Apple Pencil, which charged through the Lightning port and offered no clear storage solution, Apple's really knocked this one out of the park with the new Apple Pencil connecting magnetically to the side of the iPad for both storing and charging it. The physical design of the pencil is new too. Unlike the glossy finish of the previous Apple Pencil, the new one is a soft matte finish, and it also has a single flat edge unlike the previous pencil's entirely round design. In use, I didn't personally notice a huge difference between the old Apple Pencil and new Apple Pencil's texture, but that's just me. The flat edge of the pencil is nice, and it helps orientate the pencil when you're trying to charge it on the side of the iPad, which is also very handy. But as someone who only occasionally uses the Apple Pencil for input, I already see this new pencil as a nice step forward and a lot of market improvements. So if you're a heavy relier on the Apple Pencil for getting your work done, this new change is likely going to be a huge win. Now that the hardware is out of the way, let's talk about actually using the iPad Pro. Can it really be a computer? And what makes this iPad Pro so much better? First off, there's Face ID. It's one of the first things you interact with on the iPad, and it's something you don't even see. Whenever you wake the screen, Face ID begins working in the background to unlock the device and giving you a seamless transition into your task, whatever it is you're trying to do. With the iPad Pro, it works in any orientation: portrait, landscape, or even upside down. The new gesture-based interface is another huge change with the iPad, switching from the home button design to swipe gestures very similar to the iPhone X. Any iPad running iOS 12 can take advantage of most of these UI changes, with one or two small exceptions. Multitasking is another one of those features that exists across all modern iPads, but on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, it feels far more practical. And these are actual iPad class apps, not scaled up phone size apps. It's the ultimate in multitasking experience. I personally use multitasking all the time to jump between apps, whether I'm researching and writing about something, or taking notes in a meeting, but also keeping up with that iMessage thread at the same time. Thanks to the new gesture-based UI and the incredible processing power of this new iPad Pro, it feels even smoother and easier than it ever has before. And when it comes to using the iPad Pro as a computer, this is where things get really interesting and some of the debates get really heated. In my personal opinion, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro specifically feels like an iOS-based computer that can also do tablet things on occasion. What I mean by that is, it's big. Even with the reduced bezels and thinned out profile, the new iPad Pro and Smart Keyboard Folio together make for a fairly beefy package. Using it as a computer, on the other hand, feels fun and very futuristic. I haven't had a chance to try out the 11-inch model yet, but I suspect that if you want a tablet first and a computer second, that's the model for you. If you want an iOS-based computer that can also do some tablet things, you want the big boy. Physical size aside, using the iPad adds a layer of convenience you don't get with a laptop. I found myself wanting to keep the iPad nearby wherever I went. At times when I would normally reach for my iPhone while watching TV or grab my MacBook to go to a meeting, instead I was using the iPad Pro for all of those tasks, making it far more universal and versatile no matter where I was or what I was doing. The addition of USB-C on the new iPad Pro adds another layer to that use it everywhere-ness, albeit there are some caveats. One of my most frequent tasks with my MacBook is editing photos that I've taken with my camera. With the iPad Pro, it's as easy as using the SD card reader that I was already using with my MacBook and plugging it into the USB-C port of the iPad Pro, importing those images, editing them, and then posting them online or sending them off to another app, whatever it was that I would normally do with those photos. Unfortunately, Apple's current limitation on what USB devices and USB mass storage devices specifically can do with the iPad is one of the more infuriating things about using the iPad as a computer replacement. If you plug in a portable hard drive, a memory stick, or an SD card full of files that aren't photos or videos, as far as the iPad's concerned, they don't exist. And that can be really frustrating. Well, this isn't something that impacts me personally with most of my files in either Dropbox or iCloud Drive. It is a hurdle that I expect Apple to change at some point in the future. There's been a lot of talk online about Apple's positioning of the iPad against its MacBook lineup. Some saying it's the future of computing, while others say there's no way to replace stereotypical computer tasks with an iPad Pro. But for most people's use, the iPad Pro is as much a computer as they're ever going to need. There are tons of incredibly powerful apps available for the iPad, which enable it to do all kinds of professional things. Obviously, no one knows your computer needs better than you, so choosing to go to an iPad is an incredibly personal decision. Personally, for me, I'm doing as much on my iPad as I can, but I'm also fortunate enough to have a Mac when I need to do Mac-type things. Apple has made it very clear that they still care about the Mac. For people that think they need a Mac to do professional things, it's there for you. For everything else, there's iPad. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.